Okay, y'all, we are live.
I call to order at this time, myself, Ron Lane, as Vice President, acting for the President's absence today. Our meeting time is 7:11 p.m. Personnel present. We'll go ahead and do a roll call today. We'll start down on the far right.
John Kudowski. Lydia Mccloskey.
Catherine Mitchell.
And Ron Lane.
Stevie Sykes.
All right,
Hold on. Phyllis, can you state your name? Phyllis, can you hear me?
Citizens to be heard.
This is rude.
We'll go on, we do have a form. We'll try to get her back on.
All right, so as soon as we can get citizens to be heard and get that reconnected, we'll come back up to that.
I think I've got Brad. Find out if you want to try one of them. Hey Brad, are you there? Mute's off. Brad, are you there? You know, so 250 people. If we could get just two to work, it would be nice.
And we can't get two. But all three they're all located at one location.
It seems to all be there. Lydia, can you hear us?
Lydia, can you hear us? So again, they can hear each other, but.
Oh, I hear audio.
Might be able to connection on the speaker.
Hello, callers, can you hear us?
Hello?
Okay, now we're
I
good.
think there's someone else. Who is this?
Okay, we are good. I'm sorry, this is Marion. The audio is off.
This is Phyllis Jackson.
Okay, Ron, we have everybody.
Yeah, we just need to wait until they work it out.
Can you hear us? This is Marion?
I can hear whoever you are.
Okay, I'm Marion, so we're here live, so you're able to hear the board.
Okay, the board,
Okay.
yep, the board, we have called to order at this time, and all personnel are present here for the board. So we're live on this. So we're gonna move to item number 2, citizens to be heard.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Brad, you can go first. Please state your name, who you're representing, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Brad had said he wanted to hear the item.
Thank you very much. My name is Brad Ray. I'm the current chair of the Helotes Area Chamber of Commerce. I understand we're going to be talking about our lease agreement today. I wanted to be here for any questions and just let everybody know that at the chamber, we really look forward to a continued relationship with the EDC. I'm happy to answer questions. just be a resource regarding our upcoming lease discussion.
Okay.
This is Phyllis. I have a question.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Okay? I'm sorry?
We can't,
No questions.
no questions
Citizens to be
during
heard.
citizens to be heard.
Yeah.
We can't, board members cannot ask questions during that time period.
Who is she asking the question to?
That was
Brad?
director. She
Yeah,
answered.
you can raise the question when we have the discussion on the item on number 5.
Anyone else?
Yes, let me-
So that was Brad, is there anyone else?
Yes. Lydia.
He hung up. Lydia?
Lydia, can you?
No,
hear
ma'am,
me?
I'm here. I am here.
Oh,
Okay, Lydia, for the record, please state your name, who you're representing, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
All right, I'll start my timer. Good evening. Thank you all so much, very, very much for allowing me to speak today. I do appreciate this time. My name is Lydia Mccloskey. I'm a business owner in the Helotes area called Sturgis of Texas. I am also on the board of the Helotes Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm speaking to you today because I do appreciate the opportunity to express our, meaning my company, our thought process in regards to the Helotes EDC and the trail that the EDC takes. One of the things that I have felt very strongly about in the Helotes area was the Chamber of Commerce. I was for a number of years the head of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. I was the director for the Chamber Champions, the outreach portion of the chamber that goes through and does ribbon cuttings and things like that. So I found it very beneficial to be part of the Helotes area chamber. I am concerned in regards to the extent of the rent that is being proposed, because I know that we are on a very limited budget for the organization that we have. We try to take advantage of every opportunity to get to the community. And one of the things that we have added to the community are educational classes, digital marketing, finance, networking for the Helotes area businesses. And whether they're members or they are non-members, all of these facilities are available through the area chamber. Now, as I understood it before the chamber was around, the city used to do that, the EDC used to do that. And we've taken that over and taken that expenditure from y'all so that you don't have to expend both the staff or the funds that it takes to put those kinds of events on. So that's a benefit that the chamber has back to the EDC. In addition to that, knowing the real estate in that particular area, I understand that the square footage for the cost of having an office there is a little less than $1 a square foot. So if we're using about 150 square feet, that we've doubled that to compensate for some of the utilities that are being used, I feel, as a business owner, is good compensation back to the EDC for our part of that. So well, I appreciate the time to be heard, and I would urge you to accept the offer that the chamber has put forth in regards to the rent for our use of the facility for our permanent staff member. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
No, Mr. President.
All right, moving on to, or no other discussion from citizens to be heard. Item number 3, approval of the minutes of the HEDC meeting dated from December 2019, April 30th, 2020, and May 13th, 2020. Again.
That and also number 4, they're both consent items, so they can be approved at the same time, if y'all would like, unless y'all want to pull one to discuss.
And item number 4, approval of the EDC fiscal year end of funding, FY 2020 revenue expense report dated June 10th. Staff, if you've already reviewed that, any discussion? no discussion on items 3 and 4.
I motion to approve items 3 and 4 as presented.
We second that?
I'll second.
Yeah, we have a second on that. All right. Items for individual consideration. Item
Right,
number.
you need to vote.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. So items on this, that were discussion approved. Items 3 and 4, we'll go ahead and vote. If you agree, nay, or all say aye.
Back.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Items 3 and 4 pass or approved. Items for individual consideration. Item number 5, discussion of an action to enter into sublease agreement for a shared office space located at 12682 FM 1560 West, Suite 105, Helotes, Bear County, Texas, with the Helotes Area Chamber of Commerce, Maria Mendoza, and Executive Director. Item 6 there, discussion of utilizing economic development corporation funds for city events that promote local businesses as permitted under the Texas Local Government Code sections. Economic Development Program, Section 505, limitation of use, revenue for promotion purposes. Steve Sykes, Board of Director members.
I motion to discuss and take action on number 5 as written.
Okay. Motion to take action on 5.
Excuse me, this is Phyllis. I'd like to discuss something on 5 as well.
We need it. Do you want to second that, Phyllis?
Yeah, we need a second and then we
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I'll second.
Okay.
I need to say something.
Okay,
I need to ask something.
that's
Go
fine.
ahead, huh?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm all for having them there, and I think it's a good idea. I just wonder though, I understand that we pay per month on our copy machine $214 a month. And I don't know what they could help with that. They do have their own paper and all that kind of stuff, as Glenn had told me this afternoon or this morning, and which is great. But I was just wondering if maybe they could help defray that cost
Okay.
of the machine.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly just go over the memo and the item, and then we're going to open up the discussion. In October of 2018, we had an executive agreement with the Chamber for services shared for office space. It continued, it was a 6-month agreement, and it continued for a year. When we did get audited, our auditors did question that, because you can't just provide an office space for services being a city municipality, because funds are used to rent the area. So there has to be some kind of rental exchange of lease agreement or any kind of agreement for that office space. If we can't barter as a city or as an EDC. So what we decided was to present this. We came up with a cost analysis with just the space they're using and what we pay, and then divided that. They do maintain regular hours. They do assist with traffic, with the walk-in traffic for both the DC and the Chamber. They do provide that. They access, and these are the services they said they would provide for that exchange, was to assess with issues and concerns of local businesses, be there during the office hours, to provide assistance to visitors, respond to telephone inquiries, distribute tourism materials and information, facilitate programs for businesses to retain and expand the existing businesses in the city, and then other such services that we felt that was feasible and necessary to help expand the city's job base and improve city's tax base. In exchange at that time, it was that for the office space and those services, we would be given an annual supporting sponsorship package worth $2,500. The agreement was not an automatic renewal and expired in October of 2019 because neither of the parties notified each other for that renewal, so it just expired. After reviewing the agreement and speaking with Mr. Judge, the landlord at the shopping center where we're located, there was a big concern because we thought we couldn't do a sublease but he said he had no problem with that. So because we got that clarification, that's why this lease is coming in front of y'all. The total lease office space is 1,000 square feet, and they use approximately, at least from when I went over there, observed what was there, the offices, and then we got the layout was 468 square feet is being occupied. So we felt that we added all the costs. There are other costs, but we just didn't feel like the chamber uses that. That was more for EDC's items, so we didn't add those on there, and that we divided it by 50%. Which was the monthly rent of $900, the average monthly utilities, and that's just CPS. We didn't have the water in there, the cleaning service, the alarm, and the copier. So when you add that divided, it's about $700, and that was the reason. What you have in your package is the actual. There was a memo from the mayor, I guess, in April. We added that. The original March, which was a 6-month agreement. The second agreement was in October 18. The proposed sublease, the response from the Helotes area Chamber of Commerce, and then we just wanted to add the verification that they are a 501c3 organization so that you have that information.
So my first question is, in the letter from the Chamber of Commerce dated March 12th of this year, they're saying they're only utilizing 153 square feet. So I guess, which is it, is the first question.
Right. And so when I went to observe, they are using the office space, which is a 10 by 7 by 7.
Mm-hmm.
They're using part of the storage. We did include the copier area, the restroom area, and they do use that conference room flex space.
Okay.
So, that whole area, the only thing is we occupy that, one of the offices and the other office is empty, the third office is empty.
So they may occupy 153 square feet, but they're utilizing roughly half of the space as a shared space.
As a shared space.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
We are a team with the chamber.
Yes.
And strongly support them, there's no doubt about that. But on a team, we support each other. And one of the things that I'm very encouraged about is that these in-kind contributions and the bartering will stop. We'll have a much more fiscally responsible approach to our interactions.
Yes, and we did pay this year's, we paid for a membership with EDC. We didn't do the 2,500. I just want to let you know, because we just didn't feel like that's more for, at least when I read it, it was more for businesses that you were promoting. So we did the $1,000 one. We did do the highest membership that you can get, that you weren't a project sponsor or whatever sponsor that they have. So we did join the membership on that and continue to support them.
Although I feel that the 700 is probably a fair number, we do need to take into mind the extenuating circumstances in which we live right now. Our revenues are down, and of course the chambers are too. I'd really like to see a figure more. I think 300 is too low. I'd like to see a figure somewhere about 450 for now. And then when their revenues increase, then we could talk about renegotiating.
I'm looking on here on this memo, I think where the $300 proposal, they have 1,000 square feet in the building, the chamber uses 112 square feet of office space, 50% of the storage space, which is 41 square feet total, 81 square feet storage area, 153 square feet total. So what is the remainder of 1,000 square feet being occupied by?
We have one office that's blank, that is not used. We have an office that Glenn uses, the EDC uses, and then we have a common area. So in our calculation, we did put the common area because it is utilized by both the EDC and the chamber.
Should that not be factored into somewhat of a shared cost?
And that's what we did as the EDC. They came up with just the chamber, with their response, came up with just the office and the storage space. They didn't include the common shared space in their calculation.
So in other words, that extra room back there, that extra office space, is not being used by anyone. I know that the supply room is being shared.
It is being shared. The back office space is just basically empty, and we do keep, I think, some storage stuff in
There's
there.
some furniture in there.
Yeah, but it isn't being everyday utilized by someone being in the office.
Yeah, the quote-unquote common area is like a, what we
Yeah,
use
right.
as for a conference room and then for a waiting area.
And therefore, y'all did not include the empty office in this calculation.
We actually did, we did include it in the whole square footage. But what I did is I didn't include it in my calculations on the square footage that we said that they share, which is of course the same.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll take a stab at this. So, the first office that McCloskey Consulting went into was an executive suites down on the frontage road on I-10. So I'm a little familiar with this. And looking at this with our only, what's being proposed, and how the calculations and all that, if the chamber can't afford to pay more than $300, as they stated in their letter, one of my many concerns is that there is a shared office space facility that I'm aware of down the road here in Bandera. The industry term is executive suites. Each one of those offices, they have a base price per square footage on the office. Usually the copier is run like an attorney's office. You're charged per use. The conference room comes in a package. Virtual offices where they just get like a mailbox and an address or license to use the address. They pay for conference room time. If they actually rent an office in that industry, they throw an up to in the contract. So you don't have to use it, but you get up to 10 hours and it doesn't carry over. So that's sort of the business model. And so I'm looking at this, I'm looking at, and nothing in my mind, other than what you said about the auditor, I was not aware that last year has changed from what's on video record of what I said last April. I do like the fact that when it came back to the EDC, that the contract is streamlined, it's taken care of, it's shored up, so that it is a financial transaction between two organizations and it's cut and dry. So we don't have to hash out the issue of placing the IRS letter of the in-kind donation and what the value is between their services and there. Another concern I have is that if we stick to the guns about whatever we want to do, that they are already in their counter offer that they can afford. If we stick to our guns and say, take it or leave it, this is what we want to charge. One of the two organizations that I know of in this city that advocate for the businesses in this town, in the Helotes area Chamber of Commerce, of course. The EDC is one, and to my knowledge, only the Chamber is the other organization that actively promotes, engages, and tries to develop our business community. So if they have to make a business decision because they can't afford $301, and we reject their counteroffer and say this is the arbitrary number that we want to put because we've made our calculations without doing any of our own due diligence other than calculating up square footage, cutting up the costs, cutting up the utilities, and looking at with that business down there. I don't even know if they're still in business. I tried calling during that survey and nobody picked up. But their website's still up in the shared office space. I know they have an option. I don't know who else would want to take them in, but right, wrong, and different. I've worked with Texas Public Radio. I've worked with several neighborhood associations, not HOAs, but they're all nonprofit, highly regulated Texas nonprofit organizations. And the in-kind letter donation allows these organizations to save the money they have. We hash out what my marketing services are worth. I'll drop a letter, I send it to them, they accept it, and we have it for our audit. So I don't know, it sounds like the auditor says there's something different.
In a local government, you can't
For the
use tax,
government,
yeah, you
yeah.
can't use tax funds.
So from the chamber's perspective, if I was a director on the board, or the board member that had to vote, one of the arguments I would make on that board is, okay, fine. So the EDC wants to lose some face by saying, no to our counteroffer. Who else in town is looking for that $1,000 membership, which McCrossing Marketing just paid this year to the chamber? Who else wants that without having to pay it? And like we all know, in the middle of this pandemic, businesses are sort of hurting for capital. Well, some are. The data shows that consumers just started shifting how much they shifting where they spent the same amount of money. Do we have the tax data yet?
We do, we just got it, I sent it to council, and I apologize that I didn't send it to y'all. We actually just got it, we have a 4% increase from
Okay.
last year to this year. Total number for the year, if you're comparing it, is, okay, yeah, and I didn't do the EDC, I just did basically what we receive as a city as a whole, including the EDC, including street maintenance and so forth. And it was a 0.73 actual increase from last year, the same time period.
Okay,
So Helotes has been very, very fortunate, and we have not gotten a hit, and I think it helps with what businesses that are here. And like you said, people have shifted their money to purchase other things, and we obviously in the city of Helotes provide that. I know other cities have taken a big hit. I just spoke with the city administrator of Oconee Heights. They've had 2 months at minus 11.18%. Yeah, that
So
was
we're fortunate. So
Yeah.
I can't make the point that I thought I was able to make about how potentially businesses might look for a deal, but that's still a risk to us. Another concern or an issue I have with this. One of the issues I have with this entire thing, starting from last year, is that this is not Texas Coffee Grounds. This is not the busted sample. This is not El Chaparral coming in and subletting from EDC. We don't even have a part-timer sitting in another office to help one out. We got one person in the office. This space will go unutilized unless we start telling Glenn over there, now you're going to get into the shared office or executive suites industry, and because we want to treat the EDC more and more like a corporation than a nonprofit, we're type B, right? Type B EDC.
Yeah.
All right. Now we want you to start getting some revenue on the side and start filling those office spaces and turn him into an office director. I've looked at the business model. It's something I might pull a trigger on. I'll be very open about that, but we already have one in town, so it is what it is. I just don't see.
Who is the gentleman that's speaking? I'm sorry, I'm blind here. This is Phyllis.
This is Matt McCrossing.
Who is speaking?
Matt McCrossing. Matt McCrossing.
Oh, okay.
And so, I'm looking at several cost benefits and risks here. And so, if we reject their counter offer of $300 a month, and they're willing to pay this year, I would suspect that, correct me if I'm wrong, that they know that there's a new lease agreement coming up and that it's streamlined and there's been some back channel discussion.
Right, that was it.
Okay.
All given. I actually met with Brad, and I told him, I explained to him that we needed to start off somewhere, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And I actually encouraged him to do a counter offer, whatever he felt to go back to his board, to talk to his board, and figure out what was feasible. And so we had a lot of discussion. I met with him twice, gave him the copy of the agreement. He was fine with the agreement and understood that it couldn't be a barter type situation to
Right.
the local government code, and that we needed to start off somewhere. And I understand the sweet stuff, and you're right, there isn't one in Helotes that I can compare to. And I wasn't aware of this one that's off of, I guess, right outside of Helotes, but there was one in Helotes, and I'm very aware of a lot of those, because Austin has it and so forth, has a lot of that shared space, and that's what a lot of businesses are going to, because they can't afford to have their own space, so they're sharing space. But we wanted to start off with something to say, okay, what is the value of this, and then whatever the chamber felt comfortable where they could financially, because I don't see the financial, records of the chamber, I can't talk for them,
Right.
so Brad could, and so I asked him to please provide a counter offer that y'all could view, look at, and make a comparison, and decide on that, on what the monthly lease or agreement would be for that shared office space.
Okay, so, another concern that I have with this entire thing is that if we look at all the projects that we've done since I've been on the board and all the time, and all, most of the videos make it to YouTube. We spent a considerable amount of time on that strategic work plan, moving bullet points around, reorganizing different items on that thing, moving, changing, priority, moving stuff up so it's, number 2 instead of number 3 in that thing. And in the grand scheme of things, we've spent more time on ancillary projects and items like this than we have on actually hitting that strategic work plan hard, putting resources, time, and effort into knocking out some of those goals. In the middle of the pandemic, this is a drop in the bucket compared to $336,000 we just allocated to help out our small businesses, which fund our organization via their tax dollars. But compared to a sidewalk that is $125,000 or $130,000 that the city came to and asked us if their bond or big project or whatever grant they were trying to acquire failed, we'd be willing to fund that. And here we are, looking at the difference between keeping the chamber in that office space, which would go unutilized and accrue no revenue, only expenses, if we're unwilling to accept their counteroffer. And we already had one lady on the phone speak to that. We have, Mr. Graves' letter here, so two board members on the chamber, pretty much say this is what they can afford as a nonprofit. We also allocated over, $275,000 or $375,000 to a splash pad project that, if we want to treat this more and more like a business, putting the money, the $336,000 to help our community that funds this organization, the tax, we recoup most that we should, according to your data fund. What was it, 98% recoup? I think, or 2% loss possible? Yeah. So good risk, all right, keep more businesses in business, and let's keep adding 4% during the pandemic. Great. Splash pad, 60 spaces, no restrooms over there, the cleaning costs, all that, et cetera. That, the city encouraged that, but we took, we ponied up $375,000 or $275,000 from our budget, whatever it is. And something like this keeps coming up. All right, I was here last year in April for this, and I was just as passionate about it being on our agenda to begin with, and the way it is, and that has not changed. It won't change unless Glenn starts renting to El Chaparral, somebody who wants to start up their own photography company, somebody who wants to come in there and start paying X, Y, and Z for whatever business idea they have. This is the chamber. This is a nonprofit organization that advocates actively and I am staying on point. This is exactly, all these points are my concerns as a voting member on this board about why we are even thinking about not accepting their counteroffer. And as the only certified internet marketer in this area, the only international award-winning marketer in this area that I know of, I'll tell you that the branding for the EDC will take a hit when any citizen watches that video and sees that we said chamber in the middle of a pandemic, 300 is not good enough. Good luck. That won't change. I'm 37, I'm with 2 companies in this county.
So you see this as a fair offer from your
I
standpoint?
absolutely see this as a fair offer and as a starting point with the information that Mrs. Mendoza brought about the auditor that was not included last year.
So do you see, as far as DEC is concerned, that this needs to go for further discussion, or do you see this as something in which you believe we should approve, or any other?
Let's go.
Any other?
Okay.
Yeah, because we had, Phyllis had questions and, yeah.
Do you have anything, John?
The only thing I can say is, what we're talking about here is a difference between 700 a month and 300 a month. That's $5,000 a year in a budget that can handle that. More importantly, I
Please
think,
identify yourself.
this is John Kodowski, Phyllis.
I'm sorry?
This is John Kodowski, Phyllis.
Oh, okay.
For me, we're looking at $5,000, a difference between $5,000 between the 2 offers. More importantly, I think that the business relationship and the symbiosis between the EDC and the Chamber of Commerce is too valuable to corrupt over $5,000. But for me, I'm fine with $300.
All right, this is Kathy Mitchell.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, we would accrue the utilities anyway. The cleaning service, we would accrue that anyway. The alarm, yes. The copier at $215. If we brought that under control, maybe less.
It's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee no matter how many you run. Don't we pay toner and all that?
We do, so it's a maintenance agreement.
Yes.
We have unlimited copies for that. Now,
Unlimited copies, but not unlimited toner.
no, the toner's included. So when you get, anytime you run out of toner, anytime like that, so what they do is unlimited black and white, you do have to pay for color. Well, you have a limit for color. And so if you surpass that, then we would be charged an extra fee. We have not, at least when I looked at our budget in the past year, they have not surpassed that amount of color copies. So they stayed within that. I am going to, I mean, this is slightly off subject, but since we're talking about copiers, we are going to look at all the printer and copier to see if the agreement that we have with them is what we need by the number of uses and so forth, or can we save the city and the EDC fund by lowering that in some way, but that's something else. that
No,
we-
I'm fine with a $215 copier.
I would say in 3
Price.
years,
I'm
I've
really
replaced
good
the
with
toner
that.
1 time. So
But, you
it
know,
probably
being
is some savings.
from a school district, I know how toner and paper and
Can't, right?
we ran out daily. All right, you know, when you have 3,000 students, you run out. So I'm fine with the $215. I just didn't know if it fluctuated at all.
No, it's every month, $215, that
Okay.
includes, like I said, unlimited black and white, the color, and then all the toners, any of it's called the drum, where all the extra
Yes.
ink goes to, all that. And then anytime it breaks, we actually can call them and they do maintenance. So it's all included in that price. Yes.
Okay, and that's fine. I guess,
Okay.
Phyllis,
Can I say something?
not yet. I'm still here, Phyllis, I'm still talking. Okay,
Oh, okay.
all right, just a sec, 1 second. We're gonna go through the line and we'll come back to you.
Okay.
The monthly rent, they offered $300 a month. We asked for $700 or whatever a month. I'm not gonna pick over 300 or 400. Whatever is fair. Steve, your turn.
Well, under these, again, extenuating circumstances, I'm in favor of accepting our counter.
And Phyllis, do you have something to add?
Well, I just wanted to say that, having been a business owner myself, my husband and myself, we had to have maintenance on the machines as well, and that can get very expensive. Now, does that contract that we have on the copier, does that include regular maintenance?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm okay.
All right. Anyone else?
Any other discussion? Okay, so the proposal that we have there on the action on the sublease is for the $300 a month of Chambers of Commerce. And, the additional fees being paid out specified. We have a rent agreement, utility, cleaning service, and water service, and copy, shared copy, usage though paid for by City of Helotes. We'll go ahead and take this to vote.
Well, I think I'm gonna say, just change, at least add into the motion that that you want to go with the 300.
Yeah, the way it's written,
Into a.
enter into a sublease agreement, so,
But I think just to
Yeah.
at least put it there so that I have direction as
Okay.
the director to go out and say, this is where we got it and it was voted on, that everybody agreed to that amount. We can do that and then we can make those changes on the sublease and then execute them.
For 1
For-
year. For 1
For
year.
what, actually not even for a whole year because it will end in September. Now, if we want to increase that and change that, the only reason we did not is because we're not sure, the rent is going to increase. We've already been told by the landlord there.
Okay.
And we don't know if we're going to stay in that area or continue to look somewhere else, for maybe a more local area because it's not very convenient sometimes with parking and coming out of that area and people don't realize that that office is even there. So we are looking at other locations and we'll start looking at other locations, but there's no guarantee on that. But if you want to, so we don't know what our rent or anything is going to be, but if you want to, you can just do it for September or if you want to do it for a whole year. I just need direction on your motion on that so that I can do that on Sundays.
That's something we need to talk about,
Yeah.
because
yeah.
that's serious.
Yeah.
If they're gonna go up in price and if they're gonna, if we have to move and then
Right.
we've given them a whole year and then we're locked into that, that's a mess.
Do we have, what is the proposed?
Sorry, we're good.
That's yours.
I'm gonna lean back here, I apologize.
But you're good, goes off.
What is the proposed termination date?
To September, but, I want to give you information, our lease is good until November, so we can coincide with our current lease at this time.
Okay.
Or,
That sounds good.
you know, that is up to you.
I like that.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is-
just in case, we have to have that.
Are there one of the provisions in here that?
Right, Stevie, we have to have that, that addition.
There is no provision on renewal at this, I mean, we can renew it as is, that is in there. It's not an automatic renewal, we need to both agree upon it before it can get automatic.
No, sorry, the provision, I didn't see it earlier and I didn't think about it until you brought it up, but, that, you know, if we gotta go in September, that it,
We don't, we have to go in November, and that's
Or
why
November?
we cut
Oh,
it,
okay.
that's why we cut it to September, because we didn't want to put in the provision, you know what I mean, because our lease is up in November, now
Yeah.
we know way before then, but like I said, that is up to y'all, that's why we cut it for September, so we should know by September, around there, if we are gonna change, and then at that point, this lease will just end, and
Mhm.
they can make a decision if we want to do another kind of lease, or maybe they don't want to be in the location that we picked, we have no idea.
yeah, and so,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that if we decide to move, in, you know, the subletting agreement that we have with them, you know, can we have a provision in there that states that if we make the decision to move, that, you know, this contract's null and void and we'll give you 30 days notice, or if we stay in there and let's say the owner, I don't know what our lease agreement has, but let's say he sells the place,
Mhm.
or whatever, but basically a provision in here that anyone, whether it be the chamber or somebody else that we sublet to,
Yeah.
it protects us.
It has a 30-day, for both of us, we have a default, if we don't comply with our part, if we don't comply, if the sublease within 30, provisions of this sublease within 30 days after written notice, then provide us with early release fees and so forth. I know there was a provision that we put in there.
And then by September, we'll have an idea of what the rent is gonna
We'll
increase
have
to.
an idea,
Okay.
we're hoping to have an idea by December, by the end of December, what it is, so we have the opportunity to go look if we decide that that is not a feasible amount for the EDC. Yeah, we'll bring it back to you and say, okay, this is what rent is going up, and then y'all can give us direction on which way, and I'm hoping that we'll even have some alternatives to show you, so you can do a comparison. You know, instead of coming back and forth and say, okay, this is what the rent is, and then we have to go look for something and come back, we can give it to you as a whole package, but that will be something we will decide.
All right.
I'm good with that, if we put all those caveats in there.
Oh,
Further discussion,
No,
go
it's
ahead and
not.
have a motion?
Did those chime in on the September?
Yes.
Yes.
Did it? Okay. So I don't have, do I have to amend my motion then? Or do I add to it just to be, you know, dot the i's and cross the t's here? Because we're gonna put a restriction,
You can amend your motion and to approve, and we can amend in the discussion to add a provision in there for the notification, 60-day notification.
okay.
Agreeable?
You want 60-day or 30-day notification?
I would go.
We get 60, don't we?
Just 60,
I would go with
yeah.
60-day notification.
They'll know when we know.
Okay, so I amend my motion to take action on the Helotes Economic Development Corporation entering into a sublease agreement with the Helotes Area Chamber of Commerce for a term expiring in September, correct, and not to exceed no more than $300 a month. Did I miss anything?
That's it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All personnel that agree?
Aye.
Aye. And, and the motion passes on the sublease agreement between the City of Helotes and Chamber of Commerce. All right, moving on to City of Helotes agenda item request form dated June 17, 2020. Discussion utilizing economic development corporation funds for city events that promote local business as determined under Texas Law Government Code section, the economic development program sections 5 and 5, limitation of use, revenues for promotional purposes. The background, the city may use EDC under the Texas Local Government Code sections to provide service for promotion of the municipality for local economic development and to stimulate business and commercial activities. As per TLGC section 505, the EDC may spend revenue for promotional purposes, but there is a 10% limitation per year. Texas Attorney General opinion, GA 068 or 0086 addresses the percentage allowed to be spent on promotional purposes, stating that an EDC corporation may not spend more than 10% of its current annual revenues for promotional purposes in a given year. However, unexpended revenues specifically set aside for promotional purposes of past years may be extended for that purpose as well. All right? Well, there's discussion here. Steve?
Basically, these funds, well, these events in the city are bringing great revenue and acquainting new people with what the Helotes has to offer. Basically, actually, we are charged under state law to do this, to bring people in, to have events that will benefit local businesses, promotion. And basically, now keep in mind we would not be responsible financially for the events that occur like at City Hall, movie night, and those events, because they don't bring people to the local businesses. They just take them to City Hall. But we would be responsible financially only. We certainly don't have the resources to put them on. But we would be responsible for like the parades that bring people in, they go buy hot chocolate or whatever, they see our businesses and all. Of course, market days, which is growing exponentially, it's amazing. And I would like to see, I feel that actually, if we were to fund those events, then of course that would free the city to, they could sponsor other things, like the sidewalk issue. Anyway, I feel this particular, if we took over the funding, I feel it would be more in keeping with our charge under state law.
Just,
What are the
we gotta do the motion to discuss it.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and have a motion to discuss additional or funding to
Yeah, I motion that we
we're starting discussion
discuss
of the funding for,
number 6 is presented.
yeah.
I'll second that. I'd like to know what all these things cost, you know, just to have a round.
Yeah, we are actually working on budget right now. I know just because we were looking at how many booths we need to even just cover costs for July market days, because we're not going forward, we can't, to be able to do the social distancing that is required by the county. So when we were looking at that, it costs for 12 marketplaces, it costs us between 60 to 70,000 a year. Now, we do get revenues from the permits that are issued, because they have to get a booth permit to do that. So it covers, the money that we get from the permits does cover that. The parade and stuff, I don't have hard figures right now. I'm getting those, we're in the middle of our budget, and I've asked our PR specialist to give me that, because I'd like to, in our budget, have it broken down. We'll have a communication line item, and then we'll break down all the events to see what it costs. The city of Helotes does 26 events, including the 12 market. Wow. Yes. And it is
Jazz night and everything.
we don't do jazz night anymore. It just got too big and too hard. I would recommend a jazz night would be a turnkey. We don't have the staff to be able to do it properly. We just don't. Yeah, exactly. And we just don't have that expertise. And I have spoken with other business owners who that might want to, but we told them the city couldn't. I mean, if at that point we could not fund it in any way or help with the staffing, you know, just because we are already really thin out as a city. There's only, 6 public works employees, there's only 1 PR, there's just not enough staff. We don't have an events department. But, as you were saying, something like this, you could partnership with the businesses here to be able to have a turnkey. Because to me, and that's just my opinion, and that's what I just want to let you know, seeing and coming from another city, talking with other cities, that for something like a jazz fest, that would be it. But for the parade, something like that, if you do, it does bring in, I don't know as much of Carnival, if it fits here, but definitely the lighting of the light parade, the one that happens in Christmas, because it comes to it. So that one, and we have to be very, as an EDC member, we have to be very cautious that make sure that the events that are sponsored are promoting and bringing people to spend money in this business, in Helotes. We have to, that is part of the government, the codes that, the Economic Development Corporation codes that we have to follow in the Texas local government code.
Okay, so you're adding that, so the unfamiliar area of what it is you're asking for specifically, and what areas of perspective are particular events, say, not
Basically, like all the events at City Hall, movie night,
Fourth of July, the events that we have at City Hall is Fourth of July, movie nights. We are gonna add another one next year, we'll talk, that's a whole different thing. I'm trying to think what else happens.
When Santa comes,
Yeah, the actual lighting of, now the parade part goes through Old Town, and Old Town tries to do some kind of thing over there. And so after the lighting, they actually head out to Old Town to have them spend at the shops stay open up late. But I think the only ones that wouldn't qualify here is definitely movie nights would not qualify under this. The Independents would not qualify under this. What is the other, Glenn?
Lighting of the lights.
Lighting of the lights, just the light part, the lights itself, not the parade, would not qualify, for this. I think that's it. The rest of them, we do, but it could be, a band concert, and none of those would qualify for this because they're actually not always in the city of Helotes. They might be, we're just featuring the band, some of it is. We do one, I think, we do two of them, one at the church here and one during Christmas, but those would not qualify. So it would be, right now, the events that we have listed would be the marketplace and, the parade, the Christmas parade. Those are the,
And which we're already funding it.
we are funding it, but like she was saying, what I think Steve was saying is that if EDC funds it, then that money can go towards other services for the residents,
Right. Instead of being funded over here, we can fund it over here.
Correct.
So you're talking about two things, just two things.
no,
Parade and.
You could probably throw in two
Yes.
parades, can you, Mary?
yeah,
The Corny Ball
The
Parade.
Cornbelt might, does it, I'm not familiar, so Glenn, can you
The
give us some
the
insight
Corny
on
Ball
that?
Parade is a city-sponsored event as well, and quite a bit larger than even the Christmas parade. It starts over here at Corny Ball Ground, it goes into Old Town Helotes. People will line up on both sides, Bandera Road, from the intersection at Leslie, Bandera, and then down through Old Town.
What is the discussion then at city level on those three particular events at this time, based on the COVID?
We canceled Cornbelt this year. We could not have it when it usually happens in April. And the Cornbelt Festival, which the city does not sponsor, the festival, they have their own association. They moved it to August, but that's still tentative. They are trying to figure out, because if the governor or the state doesn't approve it, their insurance might not cover them during that festival. So they have to see, so that's still up in the air. So we canceled, that one. We have canceled the fireworks, and we have canceled, the parade. And then we didn't have 3 marketplace events. We're doing a partial, like half the vendor amount in July, and then we will see in August, depending on if we're required to continue the 6 feet space per booth.
Okay.
so basically.
can I say something? I'm sorry, this is Phyllis. Can I say something?
Yes.
Hold on just a minute, Phyllis. This is Stevie.
Okay. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Phyllis. Basically, it would be the market days and the 2 parades.
Oh, okay. Well, that narrows it down. April 26th.
Yeah. Those are the only ones that's,
Kind of scary.
as we looked at it, Glenn and I looked at it, would qualify under this.
Go ahead, Phyllis.
Oh, okay. Stevie, you had said that the EDC really was here for the businesses. Did I get that correct?
I didn't understand you. What did you say?
I think you said that the EDC, or the funds that we have, are mainly for the businesses, to promote things for the businesses?
Oh, yes, to promote the businesses in Helotes.
By bringing people in.
Okay.
By bringing people in and.
I was thinking that we were supposed to be using that tax money for the taxpayers.
Oh, no.
No?
Oh,
Not for the taxpayers, and let me step in here. So the Type B corporation, the primary purpose of an economic development corporation is recruiting businesses to the city. The second aspect that's
Right.
tied with it is also retention and expansion of existing businesses. And then the
This
third
is
thing,
other businesses that are not there yet.
correct. And then the third aspect is doing more promotion, and that takes many forms, whether it's events, doing the tourism, or
It's a video, it's a.
Exactly.
The shop, the
market,
totes,
just
you know, that
general
kind of thing.
marketing, sorry.
Okay, okay. I just don't want us to lose sight of who it is that, gives us the money.
Taxpayers.
It's
Right.
actually who shops. Whoever pays sales tax while they're shopping and buying, consumer goods here for the city, at the city.
All right. So with this,
Okay,
anything further?
no, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So as far as with this, then Glenn, do we need to make a motion or anything to have further discussion and development of a proposal for future vote? Or,
No, what I would recommend is I need direction. Glenn and I need direction on what, if this is something you want us to look at and come back with a presentation to
Right.
say, these are the events that can be funded, this is the amount of those events.
Right.
The most we can do is 35, because if we do that and you approve that, you have to approve a budget amendment to move that 35, the full, I don't think that, I think we have 20,000 or something like that. You know, so we'd have to move another 15,000. We'll tell you how much we've already spent in that or planning to spend. And maybe if it's not for this year, maybe it's something y'all decide and you want to see it in next year's budget to start for next year. That would be up to y'all. I just need direction on how y'all want to do
I
this.
think we need, further information from the city itself as to the beneficial factor of this and as far as clarity on the EDC being able to move that money into those areas, and what areas would they support?
No, yeah, what you'll do is you'll make a budget amendment. You have a line item already that's called marketing. So you would make the budget amendment, and it would stay in the EDC, budget,
We're just
okay?
gonna increase that.
You would just increase it by 15,000 if you approve that for this year. And then what will happen was at that, I can come back, it'll be twofold. You're increasing that budget to accommodate the 10%, but then you also approve events and what the cost, maybe it's not 100%, maybe it's 80%, maybe, you know, maybe it's just one or two marketplaces because maybe it's during the holidays. I don't know, but we can give you a breakdown of what the cost is. And we keep a very detailed, that means from the overtime of staff to, you know, having to make banners, the banners they carry at the parade. So there's a lot of inside cost there. So I can bring that with the breakdown for y'all so you can look at it and make a decision. And y'all can just, and I just need to know, do you want to do it this year? Or at least some of it for this year? And do you want me to bring it back for a full amount for next year?
Maybe I can have options,
We can do that.
you know.
Yeah. We'll give you, we can set up different options and different things that y'all can see to say, okay, this fiscal year, next fiscal year, these are the things, this is what the cost of those events are.
So, in terms of, so that we're gonna pay for like what the city's done in the past to pay for the event, like the parade down in Old Town. We cover the bill on that from
Yeah,
now.
and
Okay.
what I could do is break it down, and y'all can say, yes, I think that's, you know, yes, we want to support that, and the cost of that is $10,000, so we want to allocate $10,000 for that. That is up to y'all at that point. We will break it down for you so you can see what it does cost to actually, and we, like I said, we do all costs, including, the salary we pay our staff, because we have higher staff. They come in and they work it. Some of us are exempt, some of us are hourly, you know.
What about the actual expenses for marketing and advertising in the event? So,
We can add that. Right now, we do very limited advertising to those, because of, we do it mostly through social media ads.
Mhm.
It's not a huge expense, you know what I mean? Now, if y'all decide, okay, we're gonna fund this, but we want more money to the marketing part of it, you know what I mean? To bring, you know, we might not fund marketplace, but we want to fund marketing of marketplace where, because like if we get an ad, we don't do an ad on SA Current, we put it on their calendar, and the ads are very, very expensive. And so just, we have to be fiscally responsible, and so we're like, okay, are we really gonna get our bang for that, you know?
But we're doing like boosted posts on Facebook.
Yeah,
right?
we do that all the time, and then we do the boosted, the ads on Facebook. We put it on 8 different community calendars,
Okay.
that are free. You know, we try to find whatever we can, and then we, also put it on our next door. We're working on doing a mass notification system for the city, so it goes out to other residents that might not be on next door social media. We put it on, all the different Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram, and the website for EDC, Shop Helotes, and the city.
So, I mean, well, first of all, I think your item, Stevie, is amazing. This is great. You know, and it addresses our work plan. You know, drawing back from some of the discussions that we had in the last 2 years, I think market days particularly, and I would be all on board on doing whatever we need to do to get that 35K adjusted this year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to vote for that. In the meantime, maybe you can rehash one of the discussions we had a little over a year ago on geofencing. Glenn knows more about that. He talked to the vendors, and you know, if we could, and my recommendation as a marketer is that if we go ahead and we fund market days, like Stevie wants, or marketplace, like Stevie wants, and we can get a reasonable contract with that vendor or another vendor, there should be more. You do test cases, beginning, middle, and end of our project period. So for however many, and it's probably gonna, you know, be next year. Probably can't get this going now, but that data, that cell phone data coming up is gonna show us exactly who is coming to marketplace, who's returning, and then a, you know, informal survey of all the vendors down there to help us, you know, this is what I do with my clients, you know, ask them, where did you first see us, and what made you decide to call, click, or purchase? You know, and then that'll give us more data, because that boosted post that PR is doing, you can increase your targeting and reduce our costs. And that also gives us some actual, I wouldn't say hard data, to give us fidelity on who the participants, the consumer participants of market days is.
And then target that area more, or maybe we see that there's an area of their county that people don't know because they don't hear about it, so maybe we target that area for those people down, because they're just not hearing about, you know, marketplace.
Matthew, what is that called?
Geofencing?
Geofencing?
Yes. Well, there's several terms on it. That's the most commonly used terminology.
Cell phone tracking, triangulation.
Oh, yeah.
That's the less scary term.
I do too,
Did I say
Steve.
that?
I learned a lot.
One of the things, I know we part of our discussion a little while way back, and just reference information as far as for the EDC, maybe that can also be in place in this from the city, is somewhat of a little bit of COVID update information piece pertaining
We
to,
can definitely do that.
you know, I know in some discussion of people I've talked with, that there's some businesses, I think there's some more that have fallen off, since our last discussion about this. I know their rental space thing, well, the businesses are gonna shut down, and I know we've got the place right down here by Cedar Trail. I don't know how many businesses are not there now, but there are less there, and I'm not sure, you know, what kind of negotiations are going on, but I got a bad feeling that it's probably gonna get worse right now before it gets better by the end of the year.
Yeah,
For
we
small
definitely need
business.
a COVID update about what businesses are, have had to close due to the COVID, you know, and then we'll also give you an update on, a formal one on the sales tax. We'll have another set by next, you know, we'll have May, we're 2 months behind, so we'll have May. April should have been our worst, and, you know, we fared very, very well compared to other cities. So we need to look at that, but we'll have May by the time we have the July meeting, so we can definitely give that update with you, and then we'll bring this one also back with, at least moving the very back, and I'll hopefully should by then have all the information for the other 3 events, and then y'all can make a decision at that point.
Who is the event coordinator or coordinators for the city of Helotes?
Her name is Andrea Revere. She's our PR communications person. And then we have another person that we were able to move, we had someone retire, we were able to move a position to development services because we are actually seeing growth in some of the development here, at least residential wise. And so they need help in that, so she does that and she does help with marketplace. Because marketplace is a huge, especially when we make any changes.
I need a booth.
Has there been any new proposal ideas as far as the person and event coordinator?
There is not, we know that we're at capacity as a city on what events we can do. We just cannot, especially when I came in here and I was like, we have how many? And, you know, and I have sat down with her and figured out. Now, what we have done is we're using social media a lot more than we ever did prior to me being here. And the reason is because that's what I did at my previous job. I was the IT as well as communications at my previous city. And so I utilized that. And so we're also providing some technology that wasn't given to our staff that I feel that they need to be able to do their job. You know, it's really hard because, I mean, she'll post stuff even if the weather's bad at 11 o'clock at night or, you know, or something like that because residents, so they're aware that because not everybody, it's weird how some people don't follow the local news and so forth, but they follow us on Twitter. So we have to get that information.
Oh, and for next month's meeting, if y'all would give us an update on how many businesses have applied for this.
Yes, and that's what we were gonna do. We're waiting till next month
Good.
because a lot of them say they're working on the application but have not completed it, trying to get all the paperwork. And we think more might just because of the new executive order that came down as of today with the governor and Sarah County requiring masks at all commercial businesses. So that starting next week, we'll have required masks also. And we'll do a 10.
I have something to add to that. Tote bags, shop loading, face masks, shop loading.
You know, if we could get them made.
Yeah.
Don't you think that face
That's
masks,
good.
shop loaders, so when you have these events,
That'd be good.
you know, and like they're $1 a piece or whatever, or just give them whatever. But I just think shop loading, you know, where
You
different
know,
places.
we could actually, because we're still working on the bags, because I wanted to bring it to you more precise, saying here are the choices, these are what the cost, and do apples to apples. So we're doing that, we can add that on there.
I think we should. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
think it'd be great going into HEB
We
with
can-
shop loaders. You know, I can see it now.
At least not alone as Walmart.
Yeah.
You know? So,
I just think they're adorable. That would be adorable.
what we need, I think, we'll make a proposal somewhere, somehow within the city limits and below us, we need to be able to acquire space to have a drive.
A drive-in.
Because
Oh,
the regular movie theaters are gonna be out.
oh, they're horrible.
So, you know, even though Santikos is taking over everything, we need there's not a drive-in on the north side. The lowest could be first. So, you know,
I'll get Glenn to find a
Maybe we
business.
can come back.
Yeah.
Steve, you still got some property?
Yeah, she does.
Hey, we'll talk about that. Okay, we gotta get moving on
Anything
here. Please, if there's no other further discussion, we'll make a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
I'll say.
Second that, motion to adjourn, everybody say aye. Aye.
Aye.
EDC meeting has been adjourned as of 08:27 tonight, or 8:27 PM tonight, and no other further discussion at this time. Thank you much. Thank you.
When's the date of the next meeting? Or
It's
yeah.
the third.